everyone, it's Cindy. Welcome back to Studioloo. So, I wanted to start a new sort of limited series, I guess, a mini series with you on the full process of a journal from beginning to end. And I wanted to use kind of an accessible way of doing so. So I'm using a book that's not old at all. It's just a book I found at the thrift store called The Mime Order by Samantha Shannon. I have not read it. It is not old, but I was really attracted to the cover. This is really cool, and so is the moth. And I have a real love for moths. I did some concept art on moths in 2022, and I sort of felt like it might be kind of fun to do like another moth journal. I've done one, but this one will be a little bit more moth magic and fable kind of. So I also love this first page. So when I'm looking for books at the thrift store and I find some that have these kind of interesting details, I tend to pick them up. So I'm going to get started just by taking the book out of the cover. Okay, so it's a hollowback spine. You see that? So let's just pull. You just got to really give a tug. Now, some people will do this differently, and that's fine. Some people will cut here and there with a razor knife. It all depends on the book for me. I often find I don't have to do that, and I kind of enjoy just tearing it out. So then what I do, another reason I like to not do that, there's no risk of cutting into my book, but also I then can pull out this spine a little more cleanly without having cut it. I can get more of it off, and it's just a neater process. So because this is a more modern bound book, it's got some different materials than what you'd find in an old book. It's got this gauzy kind of stuff in it. I don't come across this kind of stuff really all that often because I mostly use old books. But I'm just going to tear that out. Okay, so the spine liner doesn't need to be replaced because it's a new book. So I'll now kind of look at this and decide what I want to like forage from this, right? Because I do like old book spine. I don't particularly find this one all that interesting because it's new. But I'll keep the header because it's got that cool red line on it. It's a nice little piece of fabric. You know, I could keep this crinkly kind of liner, but I think I'll toss this. It doesn't really have any personality. In old books, you're going to find really nice yellowing and that kind of thing. It's interesting here to see the pen line where they marked the book. So that'll just go in my scraps. So now, I just kind of look and I clean up anything that I think needs to come off. Again, this is a new book, so I'm not like really concerned if there's little bits and bobs here, because this book has nice strong hips and it's not going to fall apart. But yeah, you can take the time to tear all the little bits and bobs off if you want to. It's honestly not that important. They're just little whatevers. The other thing that I typically do was take away anything that would be hanging here, but again, it's a clean book. So that is good for now. We don't need to think about it too much. So then the next thing I do is I go into the book itself and I start to scavenge it for what I'm going to keep. Now this book it's in signatures. They look like they're glued in though. So yeah, it's going to be a little hard to keep them in folios unless I go inside the book like this and I pull. You can also cut the threads, but I don't actually suspect I'll be keeping very much of this book. I'm going to keep this front fly page, definitely. And I don't think I really need to keep it in the... Yeah, I don't. I'm not going to keep it in there. Can I pull... Let's just pull this out. So the other thing I noticed is it has these nice chapters that have like a moth there. So this book is from 2015. So then I look for things like this that give it personality. We have an Edgar Allan Poe poem at the front. Mimes in the form of God on high mutter and mumble low, and hither and thither fly, mere puppets they who come and go at bidding of vast formless things. So, while interesting, doesn't really appeal to me, to be honest. But I will take... This is where you can decide if you want to leave original book pages in the book. I do that with old books, but in this book I'm not really going to because I don't feel like it really adds much. I just wanted to see this map for a moment. It doesn't really interest me, so I'm just going to pull these out, I think, and obviously I'll keep this first fly page. On the back, there's another one. Those could be put together to be a folio in the book, or they could also be end papers if we wanted. So now we'll just kind of whip through the book here. And I'll get an idea of like the size of the chapters. Oh, look at that. The unnatural assembly. So let me pull a note to the author. Okay, so one kind of cool thing is we have a glossary here. There could be some cool word definitions. Bone season, the decedal harvest of clairvoyant humans organized by Scion in order to appease the Rephaim. So some of this I think is going to be language of the book, right? Like some of these words may not be like general definitions that we'd see anywhere. You'd have to have read the book to understand it. But I'm going to keep it and set it aside and go through it later. The 7 orders of clairvoyance. So that could be something kind of interesting. These pages could be kind of cool, so we'll just keep them. Why not? That's cool. And cohort, section 4. Okay, I think I'll keep this bit of map. The rogue dial. That's kind of... There's that nice moth on the first chapter. The rest of these I'll go through. And you can decide what you want to do with the rest of the book. You can keep it for, you know, collage. You can keep it for glue book pages. Use it for making ephemera. Whatever suits your need. So I'm just going to kind of quickly go through and see if I can identify a few other pages that have the moth for the chapter head. And I think the fastest way to do this is to just kind of like flip, you know, standing the book up and flip this way. Because then you can see down it, and it's kind of the fastest. And I'm grabbing them not just for the moth, but also because so far I like the chapter title names. We have Weaver, Grub Street, then there were 5, A Light. I forget what the other one was. I've got the other one in the other pile there. So we'll just kind of run through it. 7 dials. You can see these just being like nice little labels or something we could make in the book. Under the Rose. And it's nice to have ways like this to kind of do an ode to the book. If the book were old, I would usually put the copyright page in the front of the book somewhere, usually in the first signature. On the Devil's Acre. The Bloody King. Part 2. Interlude. That's kind of a neat page. We'll pull that out and look at it later. At this point, you're not necessarily like making a bunch of decisions. You're just kind of harvesting a book, right? And I think this could be a fun make-along. If you just have a lot of books in your studio, you've maybe been like me and you've done lots of thrifting, or you've grabbed a few more books than you think you might process, and they're taking up room, just kind of do this with me. This. And I noticed there's a poem here. 5 ravens feasted on a winter's day. Okay, I like how that starts because I'm going to be making a crow raven kind of journal. I've been collecting things for like, I don't know, over a year now for that, and I've got to put them all together so that we can work on that at some point. The minister's cat. And now I'm going to go a little faster and see what I come across as I go. Here's another one. Okay. The Monarch Days. Interlude. Ode to the Underworld. There's another. Actually, I might take that page that says Ode to the Underworld for another journal that I'm planning, that I've been collecting things for. Symbiosis. We're getting easier now. We're just going quick. This one. And I don't need all of them. I'm grabbing most of them. Okay. So now we're through that. And I've got all these bits and bobs to play with and to sort out later, as well as these. So that's the harvest from the book. Okay. Now I'll show you what I've got collected so far for this. So last year, around Christmas time, I think the 12 days leading up to Christmas, I did 12 days of concept art that all had a theme for my Patreon members. And so one day was Moths to a Flame, and these are the images from that collection that I put together. And I think they will be really great in this book. This one's one of my favorite. It's kind of like a guardian. Some sort of cross-stitch concepts, some more concept art. Like a lantern moth. Okay, we're getting close to the end. There we go. So that's the concept art collection. Then this is actually something that it's a cross-stitch pattern that I purchased from an Etsy seller, and this is one of the images that came with it. Like when I purchase cross-stitch patterns, I print them out and I put them in a folder along with the flosses that I need to make the project. So I saw that I printed this one out, and I was like, that would be really cool. Just cut out like this, maybe in the center of a signature. And then, of course, I do love my Miles Beyond the Moon. She is a really wonderful paper doll maker and other journal kit creator on Etsy. So these are her Moth Queen art dolls. And I think they will come in very handy in the journal. Then I have some other digitals here that I'm not exactly sure who they're from. But yeah, they look like, I'm not sure, they're definitely AI generated, and yeah, I don't recall who they're from because I am forgetful, and I have a very messy way of organizing my digitals. But I think I'm going to do some work with these. Like I'm probably going to do some painting on here, and I'm going to yeah, I'm going to do some fun stuff with these. I also didn't print anything on the backs, so we're going to have to handle how we're going to do the back. So the first thing I want to check is the width of the book. What's the size that my signatures can be? So height-wise, this is quite a nice big book. I can go 9 1/4. And then wide, I can go 5 1/4 to 1/2 if needed. So 5 1/4 by 9 1/4. So these will fit just fine because they are, you know, regular paper, printer paper. So then what I need to do is cut them out. So in this series, you're going to see a lot of things that I'm doing here that I don't normally show you because I tend to think like this will be boring. You're not going to want to watch me cut paper, but this is going to be an end-to-end journal series. So I'm going to share everything with you that I'm going to do here. I have no idea how many videos this is going to be or how long this journal will take me to make because it's going to be on a somewhat altered schedule because usually once a journal kind of becomes magical to me, I spend a bit of time squirreling away in my studio, not filming, just really clamping down on the project. Yeah. Trim these out. I'm trying to think about mothly ways of decorating the back side of these pages. I could jelly print. I think I have some moth stamps. There we go. Is there anything else I need to cut out with this? No. Okay. Okay, then I've got a bunch of fussy cutting to do. I'll start maybe with this. So what I want to do here is I want to cut this out in the hoop, but I don't want to include the metal piece on the hoop. There we go. And then we'll cut out these lovely dolls. And I'm not going to super close fussy cut them. I like to leave a little bit of space around, especially because I don't know yet how I'm going to be using them. I don't know if I'm going to make, you know, something like in the journal itself, or if it's going to be on ephemera, not sure. So let me see, what can I talk about? So, my daughter started her fall soccer skills training today, and she had a wonderful time. I also went to a printing fair today, which I will tell you more about as the week progresses. This paper that I'm using is a cotton resume paper that I got when thrifting, and it's really nice. I like the color of it too, it's a little different. Also, I went through my garage today because I am getting rid of so much stuff. I am decluttering my garage because I want to reorganize a bunch of things in a way that everything is together. Like, we have all this camping gear, but like none of it is together. So I end up not able to find certain things, and then I do something like, I'm going to just buy a new air mattress because I can't find the ones that we already have. And then I end up with like a lot of extra stuff I don't need. So yeah, we're trying not to be so excessive and have to respond with buying things in a pinch when we need them, because we're unorganized. So I am reorganizing the garage. I think the garage for me is one of the most challenging spaces because, like, you know, I think you spend a lot of time in your house, so it's easy because you see it all the time. You can easily get overwhelmed and you're like, I gotta clean the house, I gotta keep this tidy. And like, my brain works like that. Like, I'm a pretty tidy person, and my husband is too. Don't get me started on my children. No, they're not too bad. But like, every now and then, right, life gets really busy and then something piles up, and as soon as that happens, I'm okay for a little while, but then immediately, like, after that little while is gone, I kind of freak out and I'm like, we've got to clean all the things, we've got to do it now before I can proceed. Like, I can't cook in a dirty kitchen. It's just, I've always been that way. Like, if the kitchen has dishes stacked up in the sink, I have to get rid of them first. I have to load the dishwasher. I need to put anything that doesn't belong in the kitchen out of the kitchen. Like, if my kids have dragged a bunch of their toys, I can't cook in a space with like junk hanging around. So yeah, I decided today that I would attack the garage, because we did a sleepover in the backyard, my daughter and I, the other night, and I was looking for the little heat fan that I have in our camping tote, and I couldn't find our camping tote. I found it today. It was actually under an empty cardboard box that had been flattened, and for some reason was sitting in my garage, like, for no reason. It wasn't even one of those boxes that we uselessly keep for years, like when we buy something like a computer or, you know, some fancy thing, and you're like, I better keep the box, like, which I think is the most flawed thing we do, because I'm pretty sure almost never do we end up using those boxes, but then we keep them for 10 years or something somewhere silly, you know? So yeah, I found it. I feel good about it. I have more to do tomorrow, and the weird thing is, so I think when I do my Thrifty Thursday video, I think I make a comment that all the books were on sale for 50 cents, and the thrift store was not taking any donations. And I heard someone come in and say, hey, why aren't you taking any donations? And they said, we're full up, we can't. And so I didn't really notice that they looked a lot fuller, just because this one thrift store is actually huge, huge, huge. It's like warehouse huge. And so then today my husband went to take a bunch of donations, because we have like a bunch of old kids' toys that they're not going to use, like bikes that are too small, like just different stuff like that. And I don't have the time to try to like sell or rehome this stuff. Sometimes you just got to get rid of it, right? If it's just in the way and you're trying to do something, you have to get rid of it. I've given a couple things to a neighbor who has a little one, and I've curbed a few things, because things never last long when I put them out on the curb. Either if they have any metal in them, the scrap people come to get them so fast that I have this theory that like scrap people just 24/7 patrol the streets. It's so bizarre. I don't know if it's like this in your neighborhood, but we will put something out. Like, I had an oven that stopped working last year. I put that oven out and it just was gone in like not even 15 minutes. It was gone, and we never see them come. They're just like they're like a mystical scrap, like Samson and Son kind of, I don't know, it's bizarre. So yeah, most stuff can go pretty quick on the curb in front of my house, but I do try to like donate what I can, give away what I can. And then I've got to go through, I'll try to make a stack maybe of books next for we'll do some like maybe flipping through to find some things that we want to include in this journal. So that's typically part of my process. Once I decide on the kind of journal I want to make, if I have digitals that I need to get ready, I'll do that. I'll print those out. And then I will, you know, do what I'm doing now, which is like prepping them further to be used in collage and ephemera making and folio creation. And then I go through all my books that I think might have some relevant papers in them to the theme. And then I'll look through my other papers, like my coffee dyed paper and that kind of thing, like the pages that'll be more plainer pages for writing, pages that I might want to stamp on, etc. Okay. One more to go. I think that this particular video series is also going to be a little illuminating about just how much time goes into the making of a journal. Maybe I'll create a playlist for this. If I do, I'll link it below. I probably will. I think that would be a good way to keep the videos organized for it. Okay, so then I have the collection of concept art that I need to cut out as well. I might do this because most of these are kind of like squares and rectangles. I might do it on the guillotine. So let's set those aside. And then I can change the shapes after, like I usually do, to make the ephemera more my own. I mean, this is my own, these are my own images, but yeah, I like to change most of the time what the final image looks like. So it was really funny in my daughter's soccer league today. They've got a really great head coach. He's really very much like a coach. Like, this is all new to me. I haven't had a kid play league sports until now. But you know, he was really good. There was a mom who brought her little boy, and I think it was his first time probably playing in a league game like this, where all the kids run out onto the field and they're kind of split up into different groups, and they go through like sort of 4 teams of coaches and trainers that, you know, do different kinds of drills with them, and you know, kind of aerobic stuff and running and all sorts of stuff. So the boy was crying. I felt bad. And then, you know, the coach came up to me and he's like, "Hey, what's going on? Here, come take a walk with me." And like, you know, he was crying at first, but then like once the coach was like, "What's going on? What happened?" You know, and he really listened to the kid, and he like, yeah, he was really good. It was nice. And it's always encouraging to see those kind of things when you get your kids started in a new thing. So yeah, I felt good about that. And then he was really funny because like they try to make the kids hustle, right? Because part of what they have to learn is, first of all, paying attention. Like little kids, you know, they're precious little dreamers, and they're always, you know, losing track of what's going on. So there was lots of, "Hey guys, pay attention," you know, but then they would let them run for water, like run over to their parents who had their water bottles, and So they had, I think, like 15 seconds to like run over, have a drink, and come back. You know, he told them to aim for 15 seconds because, you know, they're teaching them the skills they're going to need in a game, right, that has like timers associated with different parts. So it was funny, as they were getting to the end of the 15 seconds, he's like, okay, let's go, let's go. And some of the kids were lagging, and he's like, come on, we didn't even have water when we were kids. And I cracked up laughing. He was so funny. And it also made me think about, you know, when I was a kid, how we never had water bottles. Why is that? Like, how did we stay alive? Like, I don't think I could go anywhere now without a water bottle. I definitely start to feel panicky if I'm like, I don't have any water. Like, you know, I live in this mindset that I'm in the desert all the time or something, but like I also definitely do get thirsty. And I don't remember ever getting thirsty as a kid. Like, I'd go out for hours outside, I mean a whole day probably, and I wouldn't drink anything. And I wonder why as an adult I get dry skin. And so, yeah, I don't know how we did that, but sorry for that snip. I just had to change batteries, and I just kept cutting while the camera was loading. So, yeah, I think there used to be more water fountains, like in public spaces and schools and stuff, maybe. I mean, not in public spaces when I was a kid, because I lived in the middle of nowhere, but I don't know. Okay, this. Now this one I think I'm going to just, I'm not going to cut it into 4 because I might use it as a folio. Just keep that big. Yeah, this is much faster than cutting these all out by hand. But do be careful with guillotining though, because you can actually strain your arm if you're not careful. I am still recovering from this bicep strain. I still have to get some tests done associated with it that I'm going to get done next week. It's not as bad as it was, but it tends to bother me oddly at bedtime, so I have to get an ultrasound on my arm and an x-ray on my arm, just because my doctor likes to check for all the weird stuff too, just in case. And I'm thankful for her, because you know, you never know. Couple more to go, and then we're almost, we're going to be all through this, maybe. I think there's 4 to go. So like I said, lots of extra steps that I don't normally share with you, but I think probably anything too tedious won't be frequent. That's why I often have a lot of respect for like frequent YouTubers who do like videos where they share just about everything they do, and they are able to keep a conversation going. Like, I find Gail Agostinelli is quite good at that, as well as Pam at the Paper Outpost. You know, they both really, they do a pretty good job of it. Although lately, it's weird, my YouTube algorithm, I realized the other day, like, I'm not being sent a lot of the journal creators videos that I normally watch. So I went through and I clicked the little notification bell on a bunch of creators, because I want to see their videos. Otherwise I get like recommendations that often have nothing to do with what I'm interested in, and so if you're not seeing my videos and you want to be, make sure you click that notification bell, because that will tell you whenever I have a new video, and it will also recommend it to you in your subscription playlist. I mean, I tend to go through my subscriptions list like every couple days usually. It's how I realized, like, when people don't make videos and then I worry about them, like my friend Marnell over at Mimi's Keepsakes, she was in BC where the wildfires were, and all of a sudden she wasn't making videos and her home was affected by the wildfires, I think, so she was offline for a while. And then my friend Carrie over at Ulterior Motives by Carrie, she's just disappeared and I missed her. So Carrie, my friend, if you are watching this, I did send you a little, I think I wrote a comment on one of your videos the other day. I'm just worrying about you and thinking about you. I hope you're okay, and I hope all is well if you're watching this. Okay, so here's a bunch of assets we got ready. I think that's what I'll do for today, so I don't make this video too long. Hopefully you're getting a little feel of where we're going with this journal. I should mention, like, the cover. Well, I do quite like it. I'm thinking I'm going to add some kind of a moth here. I'll keep the rest intact, but I want to add a moth of some kind and maybe something else to this. I'm not exactly sure yet, but that's where we're going for today. I'm going to just pack this away for the evening. I'm not going to work on it without you, and I will come back and we will take some more steps next time. All right, so thank you for hanging out with me. Bye for now.